Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
So in today's episode, Investors, we have Jonna Weber, who's just a powerhouse all around. She's not only a real estate agent who literally just doubled her business in 12 months, but she's also a very successful real estate investor, focusing on residential and commercial. So she's got so many amazing things to share. And I think what you really appreciate most, like all of us women, and on this journey, she shares what she did on her journey from stay-at-home mom. She was a teacher, kind of figuring things out. And now now she's a top producing agent and investor. And she shares what her journey looked like and, the awarenesses she got along the way.
Yeah, it's all about mindfulness, right? She was able to double her business within 12 months, being super mindful of who she spent her time with, where, saying a lot of no's, but she was very mindful of where she should put her energy into it, which really allowed her to serve her clients, serve herself, her family, and really provide a top-notch service, which also led to more referrals to her agent business. So this is a very special episode. If you're a real estate agent or looking to work with a top-notch agent, you want people like her with her mindset. That's the most important thing. Her mindset here. You cannot miss her tips.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show. We are so excited to have Jonna Weber as our guest on today's episode. Jonna, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Really excited to get into her story. She has so much wealth of knowledge to share with us. We're going to introduce her in a moment. One of our partners and one of our colleagues and one of our friends. And very, very involved in the Bigger Pockets community as well. So before we go there, Andressa, we'd like to connect with all of our wonderful women and men who listen to our show too, which is super awesome. If you do, whoever you are, you listen to our show, we appreciate you. But we're here to add as much value to you as we can. Before we jump into our interviews, we'd like to share a little quick tip, a lesson, something that we are hoping will land well for you and that you can use in your life, right? So Andressa, I have this week, don't I?
You do. So what do you have going on?
So we had I want to share a quick tip suggestion around masterminding. So we had our mastermind last night with our Strive members, right? Part of our community.
Yeah, and we did. It was good. And
it was a great mastermind. And I had the thought during it that it's a muscle when you are part of these accountability groups, masterminds, coaching, whatever you're doing in your world, right? Because a lot of us are involved in a lot of different things to better ourselves. There's a recipe to getting the most out of these types of things, especially masterminding. And last night, it was kind of everything was hitting on full cylinders. And we felt like the women were really kind of getting a lot from our call last night. And there's two things that came up for me that I wanted to share is that as women, we don't ask for support enough. So when you're on the hot seat, you're part of these calls and the leaders are asking for volunteers, volunteer, ask for help. Because I know just speaking personally, I don't ask for enough help. And we need to do that more as women, especially women who want to create financial freedom in a balanced way, which is our mission statement in our community. Number two is go deep, but go brief. And I think as women, sometimes we like to just kind of give a lot of a story and share. And we kind of, I again, speak personally that I can ramble on and I don't get to the point and you lose people. So what a great lesson when you're on these group calls, go deep, but go brief and don't ramble. That's a big suggestion. And the third thing I want to suggest when you're part of these types of masterminds, I don't care which mastermind it is be authentic and real as possible. Because people can only help you as much as you are open and honest about what's really going on. And obviously you need support. So sometimes you don't know exactly what's going on, but as we talk and share, we usually do know what's going on and more of that comes out. So just being real and authentic, be coachable. That's being coachable. If you're asking for support and you're like, yeah, but, you're not coachable. So stop doing that. And obviously just, show up, play full out, and ask for support. If you're usually quiet on those calls, I encourage you the next time you're on whatever circles you're part of, ask for support and be vulnerable and go get to the point, but be as deep as you can. So those are my suggestions. If you're part of some sort of coaching / mastermind, whatever circle you're part of, please be doing that, because we certainly do that with our members.
Yeah, I'm very biased about mastermind because I'm part of different masterminds, and there's so much power that goes around when you play in the arena, right? When you are just on the stand watching others play because of X, Y, and Z, majority of the time, it's because people don't want to be a bother or they feel ashamed of the situation that they're in. And I just want to mention very quickly before we get into Jonna's story is that many times we are comparing our challenges with everybody else's Instagram account where they show all their successes, and that's not fair. Okay. So people are going through issues with contractors, with projects that are not going well, with tenants, and you can name it, right? Many times we're just not sharing that. So feel free to really get the support that you need. Mastermind is a resource. If you're not part of one, you should be part of one, no matter what stage you are in your real estate investment. And it's so powerful when you play.
Love it. Love it. So without further ado, it's such a perfect segue because that is how we met Miss Jonna Weber many moons ago, right? Six years ago, we put together our women's mastermind well before we started the investor community. Jess and I have always been drawn to empowering women and getting in circles with other wonderful women. And Jonna was one of those women we connected with. We found each other right on Bigger Pockets, and the rest is history. But Jonna, as we always like to kick things off, and Jonna, by the way, is one of our partner, is our partner as we lead our Investor EXP team, which we're very excited about and very grateful to be on this journey with you. So as we kick things off, and you're an investor, you're a top producing agent, you have a lot of hats. Share with the women listening a little more about what propelled you to get involved in investing.
In investing, yes, absolutely. And I just have to say, related to that mastermind, I just want to thank you so much for reaching out to me. I think it was almost 7 years ago at this point, because it really, we're talking about affiliation, who you surround yourself with. It changed my life. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you. And everyone is in great hands with Liz and Andressa with the investor community. Related to investing, you know what? My husband was all into investing. I wanted nothing to do with it. How's that? It wasn't, I wish I could claim it was my spark that we set the world on fire with my investing spark, but it didn't start out that way. It's really ironic because I'm the one in the real estate space today, but he was always looking at projects and wanted to invest in things. And I was very, very conservative and scared of doing so at the time. And I was a stay-at-home mom with babies, and one baby, one on the way. And we actually, with his guidance and really me dragging along behind him, we purchased our first rental when I was pregnant with my second, who just graduated from high school. So
congrats.
So that's how we got started. And we went along with just a couple of rental properties for several more years, had a cross-country move to North Carolina, came back to Idaho. We're based in Boise, Idaho. And then the recession hit. And we were going along just fine. My husband had W-2 income, and we thought, okay, we're good to go. We're living the dream. 2 little kids, one starting kindergarten, and we're just, going forward, living our lives. Well, we found out during that recession that things weren't as stable as everyone thought they were, right? And he had some really close calls with his corporate job at the time. I mean, to the effect that he almost lost his job, as did so many people during that recession. And it really was a wake-up call. And that's where I call it like an inkling. And I want every woman to pay attention to that little voice in the back of their head, the what-ifs. And that's when I started thinking about real estate investing, when push came to shove and we needed to do something.
Wow. You you had a successful career, and I know your background in real estate investing. You guys have businesses and real estate agent. How all of that meshed at some point? Did you intend to do that, or how that transition from a stay-home mom to having different careers? How did you plan that out, or it came in different ways to you?
I wish I could say we had it all planned out perfectly, but it's so interesting, the timing of this. And I was thinking back about our story. It was literally 1 decade ago that inkling came to me. And we started thinking about, what if we could actually invest in something that created a little passive income, little cash flow? So the short answer is it was not all at once. It was step by step by step by step. And all of a sudden we realized that we'd made progress. And then that encouraged us to go a little bit further, and then a little bit further, a little bit further. And it was intention just to take that next step. But no, we haven't known exactly what it's going to look like and unfold the whole time. But it's been intention and making concerted choices too, like really intentional choices, like driving old cars at the beginning, staying in the little house we had bought to be a rental that we thought we'd move out after a year, and then the market crashed. We stayed in that home for 9 years so we can continue to invest in other properties while we stayed small from a personal perspective. Things like that really made a difference.
I can't encourage that enough, and I know that was my husband and I's path as well, where everyone was getting the big fancy house, and the Facebook comparison happens, right? When you're
Totally.
right when you get married, and you're like, but you look around, you're like, my husband just quit his job. We got married and he quit his job, right? So I was like, we're not going to overspend. We're going to live here. We'll live here a few years. That was 10 years.
Okay, you too. I'm glad we're not the only ones.
10 years, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. And I don't think enough people have that ability to have like that delayed gratification. Now, if you're a saver, sometimes that happens too much, right? Where I would have probably been still living there if it wasn't for my husband.
We had to force Liz to get out of the house, literally. Yeah,
we could have this house paid off, and but there was other benefits, right? Having a little more space, growing family. But anyway, I just love that. And I think that delayed gratification is something not spoken about enough. And it was literally one of the keys to our growth. No question, hands down. So Jonna, how many investments did you have then when you went from investor, Jonna, to agent, Jonna? So, and that's usually sometimes the people have the flip, right? Sometimes they're the agent and they make the leap to being an investor. So how many properties, what kind of properties did you have? And then walk us through a little of that transition or that pivot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I had been a stay-at-home mom while my kids were little. And then when my daughter started first grade, I'm getting to exactly the investment part here. But she started first grade. I was teaching for a little bit. So during the time that I was teaching, we were actively picking up a few investments, right? That was right in the midst of the recession, right there, 2011, 2012, 2013 is at the point where I got my license. It was 2013. And I think we had about 7 or 8 rentals at that time. And I was teaching school, and I just thought about, again, purchasing a few more investments on our own. But really more than anything, I thought, gosh, if I could do something that aligns more with my investing, teaching was just kind of out in left field. But if I could, and I was missing out on deals because I was in the classroom and I would hear about a house that went on the market. And by the time I got out of there, it was pending. And so I would get frustrated. So I knew I was way more interested in real estate, unfortunately, because I know teaching is such an incredible calling. But I decided, well, if I could just maybe do a couple of sales a year by helping a couple of other investors, my gosh, I could make the same as I was teaching. It's crazy, but it was true. Mm-hmm. And so we thought about that, and I gave notice not to return the next year and went for it, got my license over the summer and then started in, and it wasn't easy. We had like 5 months before I made my first sale, but ultimately we were able to surpass my teaching income the first year.
Wow. Pivoting is so it's easier said than done, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it's really scary. I know we talk to a lot of women in our community, and I know, Jonna, knowing you, it's like, it's very, there's a lot of angst, right? It's not as like simple as like, I was doing this, now I'm going to go do this. Like, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Especially as it comes to our families and how's this going to impact, and the emotional impact, am I going to be as good at that as I am at this?
Becoming a rookie again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a rookie again. We get so much of our confidence, the more confident we are with something, and then poof, that goes away. It's like, whoa, so what did you have to do? Like, think back to Jonna, teacher Jonna, and you were in the midst of like, okay, I can go into being an agent, which is connected to my investments, which I think it makes so much sense. What did you have? How did you set yourself up for taking that leap? Because it's a leap of faith. It's a leap of financial faith, a leap of emotional. It's a very big deal. And I don't think people give that enough credit, because it's like you're kind of closing one door, you're opening another. So what kind of internal work did you need to do? Did you, external work did you do? Like, was it just like bingo, bango? Like, was it simple? But, what was that, what was that for you?
I think the biggest thing to wrap my mind around at the time, and still is, and probably is for most people transitioning to be self-employed, is to still treat it like a job, not a job. I don't like the word job, but as a career, as a business. And so I needed to, and I did learn this very quickly, because I had come from a more structured environment, to plan my day. I was still busy with, mom with kids, and I put those kids' appointments and sports in my calendar and so forth, but I did time block. So in the morning, even though it was my home office, I was at work and I was learning and I was treating it intentionally. There's a lot of people that I do know that get their license and they just expect the business just to flow to them. It doesn't happen that way. And I was also a sponge and just learned as much as I could from podcasts and books, and every top realtor I could even listen to or get myself surrounded with, just to soak it up and to learn. So that was huge, and just taking it seriously.
Well, I've been part of your journey for the past 7 years, and, different types of transitions and facing different situations with your rentals, with your business. And, recently, right, you double your real estate agent business in 12 months. What are the factors that you think that contribute to that?
Oh, great question. Yeah, it's so funny. I had a real estate coach that used to tell me, Jonna, it's going to go slow, 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 fast. And so, and I didn't believe her.
Okay.
It seems so slow, so long. And then all of a sudden,
I think that isn't that why people quit, because they feel like this is so slow.
Lack of progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they feel like I'm freaking stuck.
Right. No, it's amazing. And that's where I'm like, back 10 years ago, I'm like, wow, we did some things. It was pretty exciting. And so the biggest thing I think is, one, of course, the intentionality, but then just making a decision not to be caught up hitting my head against the ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think we get comfortable and we get our closings and we're like, oh, I'm making pretty good money. This is good. I'm satisfied. I'm good. Well, there's something that enables us to go further when we push through that wall, right? And so I can't say I like intentionally pushed through the wall, but I do know that I kept intentionally surrounding myself with those that had gone a lot further than I have and were pushing me. I had real estate coaches along the way, I had mentors along the way, top agents that I became friends with, that it was not a comparison thing, but it just gives you a belief like, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it and I can succeed. So I think it's that intentionality and who I really surrounded myself with, whether it was virtually or in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also did some very strategic things early on, right? In terms of like, okay, I want to grow, because there was a transition you made. You went from, I want to just sell a couple of houses to replace my teaching income, right, to becoming a top agent, right? Those are two different, that's two different focuses. So, for you, as you grew your agent business, in terms of like surrounding yourself with people, like you said, has been a key piece. What other things did you do? What other things did you think? Because there is a mind piece, there's a mindset piece, there's an action piece, right? Both are so critical, right? We can think positively, but if we're not taking any action, I don't know. You can't just sit there literally all day. It would be nice. And then the vice versa. So many women are into taking action, yet they're not changing their mind. They keep getting the same result.
Right.
So what were those other things? Did you put yourself out there? Did you join different groups? What was that? Because it's always interesting to look back on. You can pinpoint it, probably not at the time, but now you can, right?
Yeah. Well, two pivotal things that come to mind for the first part of my career. One, put myself out there. I got very involved. I know this is a big community that knows about Bigger Pockets. I put myself out there. I was a podcast guest back in 2014. I was a baby agent, like just been an agent for a year. And I tell you that was putting myself out there. I was scared to do it. That was huge in building credibility and developing relationships with other investors and buyers and sellers. That was wonderful. And I'm always thankful for that opportunity. The other thing I did, and this is, I think, accounts for some of the most reason why I changed more in the last decade than I did my first 20 years as an adult, is because I surrounded myself even virtually with others that were positive. And I quit listening, like in my 30s, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I would listen to news all the time. I would listen to, NPR or whatever news channel and scroll sites. And it was just crazy. I look back at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that old me, it gets a little sad for the old me, all that time that I invested in things that I had absolutely no control after. And it wasn't intentional, but looking back, I did pretty much go media free, or at least media light, ever since I became an agent and filled my mind. I stopped listening to radio. I started listening to teaching and Audible and, all of the sort of things that fill up your mind with the right things. It's not hocus pocus. It changes the trajectory of your life. I'll go to the grave with that.
Yeah. I like a lot of women brainwash, right? I brainwash my own brain. Yes.
I love that. Yeah. You do say that. I know. I love when Jessica says that. And I have to really think about what she's saying. Cause I'm like,
what the hell is she saying?
Yeah. Jonna, I was going to ask you, so many women know that that's important. Surround yourself with like-minded people. We're the average of the 5 people we hang out with, whatever that quote is. And there's so much truth to that. And I'm not dismissing it. We know it, but yet so many, if you said, okay, what groups are you part of? Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? I think then you're going to have a lot of women who know that they need to be doing that, not doing it, actually. There's probably a real difference, right? What we know to do, it's like we all know, eat less calories, go to the gym, move your body. It's not rocket science how to lose weight. It really isn't. Yet, look at the amount of people not doing it. It's not because they don't know what to do. There's a difference between knowing and doing. So for you, you're a baby, like you said, you're a baby agent. I'm like envisioning this baby agent. I have this like weird visual in my head. But anyway, you're whatever. But anyway, you're new to being an agent, I should say. And you're joining these groups, you're putting yourself out there. How did you get over like the imposter syndrome? Because a lot of women have to move through that. It's like,
yes.
And it's true. It's like, I feel like I was like that. And I know a lot of women like that. We're not going to just oversell ourselves to just oversell. A lot of women don't do that. They undersell. So how did you move through that confidence to be around those people that you wanted to be more like? How did you move through that? Did you say, hey, how did you add value to them? Or, what was your kind of strategy or process?
Yeah, no, it's into that imposter syndrome. That is a tough one. I think there was just always this little part of me, like, I just knew I belonged there. Doesn't that sound funny? But it's true, like if I've always been the type of person, if I'm in a room with people, like, I want to be back with the speakers, or I want to be with the VIP pass or whatever. And it's not that I'm all that or anything. I just like naturally feel like, okay, that's who I identified with. And that probably was imposter syndrome at the beginning, I knew that it wasn't, exactly where I aligned with, but there is something when you're a business owner and you've got to go in there and you got to project confidence. There is a little bit of fake it till you make it. I remember my first listing, I got the listing and I was interviewed with 3 agents. And it was my very first one. Is my second transaction ever. I'd helped one investor buyer buy a $93,000 piece of property. And I got the listing and she's like, Jonna, Bob, Bob was another agent that interviewed. Bob was so nice. We almost went with him, but get this, he's only been an agent for a year and a half. And I was straight out of the gates. And I'm like, okay. And then we just sold the house the first weekend. And guess what? That question, how new I was, never came up. And so I think women, especially, I don't know, it's probably more women, we feel like we're not worthy until we've reached a certain amount or a certain level. And that is so not true.
My gosh.
We are worthy.
I'm sorry interrupting, because we just talked about this last night on our mastermind, where
perfect.
Women make the connection between being worthy to an accomplishment, to a title, to a number of houses they own, right? So love it that you're mentioning it.
Yes. In the investor space, it's so funny because it's kind of like, well, how many houses do you own?
Right.
Or what were your sales, and it really doesn't need to be tied to that. And in a successful agent, by the way, could be someone who sold 3 houses and knocked those clients' socks off. That's successful. You've impacted and changed 3 families' lives. So I just want to encourage everyone never to discount that, no matter what kind of action they're taking.
Love that. And then self-worth is such a loaded topic. I mean, that's a whole other episode for another day, right? I'm just like, that's a big one, especially when it comes to the women that we're serving. Something we encourage, I want to share it on our podcast episode, because we're all about just giving you some nuggets that you can actually do something with. You're not just listening to this to be entertained because you want to hear my corny jokes because they're bad. But you actually want to do something, right? You don't have time to waste. So Jessica doesn't make corny jokes, but I do.
I laugh at your corny jokes.
You laugh at my corny jokes.
I make no sense to the things that I say, but that's okay.
So here's the action step to what Jona's saying. And I don't know if you did this back then or you still do this, but we heard about this from a coach we work with in our one of our pod mentors, Alicia St. Germain. And she mentioned the exercise to one of our pods, and then she mentioned it to me, and it's something a lot of us are doing and are now doing. But at the end of the day, to write down 3 things you're proud of that you did in that day. And it seems so simple, right? But when you get to the end of the day, you're like, what did I do today that I could be proud of, And you're like, did I close a house? Did I buy an investment property? Not every day is like that, right? It's not going to be every day, but what can I be proud of? What can I be proud of that I did today in my personal and professional life? And I don't know about the women listening, but it's hard at first, but then it gets easier and it feels really good to what Jonna's saying. She's pivoting, right? She was a teacher, then she pivoted into this new profession. She's got young kids. You had to feel proud of what you're doing. If you saw yourself as a VIP, which I just absolutely love, because you are the most selfless, giving person. You're so not egocentric, like anybody that knows you, that's never, you're just a very giving and humble person.
Yes.
But you saw yourself, that's self-worth to me. You saw yourself as a VIP. That's you saying, I saw myself as deserving as what I was getting. That's just another way of saying it. And so the women listening tonight and for the next 7 days, and share it with us in our community, every night before you put your head on the pillow, write down, send it to somebody, put it on our Facebook community. We don't care. 3 things that you're proud of, because self-worth doesn't come from other people. It's not coming from Facebook and Instagram and closings and financial freedom. It's not going to come from any of that stuff. It's going to come from yourself. And I know that because I've had to work through that myself. So just a little homework assignment for the women listening. Totally
I
random,
love
but
that.
Just wanted to pop that in there.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I know we talked about it last night, right, on Justice, so I just thought I would mention it. Jonna, this is amazing. And I love your path. I can't wait to see where you go. And I know you're one of our partners. We really appreciate all the great work you're doing. Jonna's leading our Investor EXP team. We're building out a team of agents who also want to invest, which is the perfect blend and marriage of what our communities are doing together. So just really excited about that venture, working with you. You're a great partner in this venture. So, and we just so appreciate your leadership and what you're doing for a lot of agents, because you're such a mentor to so many agents. So where can the ladies learn more about you and connect with you further?
Thank you. And this has been so much fun. I just love this community. So speaking of, if you are wanting to just chat about our Investor EXP team, you can go right to the Real Estate Investor website and click on the link, and we can set up a chat and just discuss your personal scenarios. Love to do that. if you're interested in connecting on a personal level or have an interest in Boise, Idaho real estate, I'm at jonnaweber.com. That's JONNAWEBER.com. And I'd love to keep getting to know each and every one of you.
That's great. And all this information you guys can find on our show notes. Now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. And the first one, Jonna, is what's the most transformational book have you ever read?
Oh my goodness. Let's think here. Related to real estate, I'll talk about one recently. I'm actually partnered with Tim and Julie Harris, who are real estate coaches. They have a really practical book. This is related to real estate because that's our topic today. It's called Harris Rules. I will say it again, practical, tactical, and no BS.
Awesome.
So
Love those.
Good info there.
The second question is, what's the most powerful routine that you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think it's what I alluded to before is listening to things like podcasts for really like your podcast is incredible. Bigger Pockets podcast. And then there's a number of real estate and motivational podcasts that I listen to like Brendan Burchard, Darren Hardy. Those are the best things for me personally. Take the dog on a walk and fill me up in the morning and start my day right. Like we alluded to before, not the news, but filling us up with things that are going to propel us into positivity for the day.
Great. The last question is, which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
My grandma, without a hesitation. My grandma Hazel, she passed away at age 96 or 97 back about a decade ago, but she was fabulous. And I talk about positivity. She used to go on positivity diets where she would not let herself say anything negative for days at a time. And this was in her 90s when she was out delivering Meals on Wheels to the old people when she was 96. So I pray that I live out my 90s the way that she did.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's in a generation that didn't even do this that's pretty impressive.
She was one of a kind.
Jonna, thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you for being you and sharing all your pearls of wisdom with us and our community here today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Total pleasure. Have a great day.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.